time, we'll go ahead and get started now. Thanks everyone for joining us on the news briefing for this Wednesday. We're going to start with our colleague Kevin Wynne with the Small Business Administration. As many of you might know, the SBA has opened a business recovery center in Big Sur, and that center will provide a wide variety of services for Big Sur, which was definitely economically impacted by the Rocky Creek slip out. Kevin, we're really glad that you're able to join us. And can you tell us a little bit about the center and what it offers? And you're on mute. Can you unmute yourself?
No, yeah, there we go. Sorry about that, Mayor.
No
Thanks
problem.
for inviting me. Yeah, the center is at 47555 Highway 1 in Big Sur. We opened yesterday, Tuesday. I placed that information in the chat box. And we're open 8 to 5. We do close Thursday. It's a short little adventure for us down there, but we will close Thursday at 5 p.m. And they will be available to take applications online, which I'll post in the chat later. The SBDC, the Small Business Development Center, also has a counselor there from the Central Coast SBDC, and they can go right over after they apply with SBA. We were pretty steady yesterday. We had about 5 to 7 business owners show up and apply with SBA and then get some consulting from the SBDC there as well. And it's going really well. As you mentioned earlier, Mayor, there was some economic impact down there in that area. So 5 small businesses declared that they had suffered economic injury, so they requested of the governor through the state that for a SBA, what is called a governor certification EIDL application, and that's only for small businesses and private nonprofits down there and in the surrounding community, surrounding counties of Fresno, Kings, San Benito, San Luis Obispo, and Santa Cruz. And what SBA provides is working capital loans to help small businesses, small agricultural cooperatives, and most private nonprofits of all sizes meet their ordinary and necessary financial obligations. They're not income-based loan. They're really just there to help you pay the bills, keep the lights on, keep your employees, most of all, employed, and just get you through the disaster recovery period. We do look at a couple things when businesses come in. We look at their credit history and their repayment ability. The loans are very low interest. For the businesses, they're 4%, and for the nonprofits, they're 3.25%. We have a 1-year deferral period that has come into play now, so they'd have to make no interest or payments for 1 year, all deferred. And the loans go up to 30 years as well, which makes recovery very affordable for these low interest loans. For economic injury, businesses get up to $2 million for these EIDL loans. And what we do is we have a $25,000 initial disbursement. And then after that, folks can just show us the bills that they paid, and they'll work with the case manager to get the rest of the funds dispersed, whatever amount that they were approved for. We cannot use the economic injury to refinance long-term debts. There has to be insurance on some of the loans as well. The application filing deadline is February 10th, 2025. We recognize that folks have a lot of businesses requirements to fulfill with their accountants and things like that, not fact sheets, income statements, and their balance sheets. So that's why we extend these periods out that long into February for them to apply. I will put the place that they can go to apply online as I take questions, but that's pretty much the program. Like I said, we were very steady yesterday, 5 to 7 businesses come in. One of the great things is the Central Coast SBDC has people on site that can help these folks start getting their businesses back up and running, and any other consulting services, all free of charge. Mr. Gilbert, who is running the Central Coast SBDC, is down there as well today. I stayed up here in Monterey to do outreach as well. The Monterey Herald was down yesterday. We snapped some pictures, got a great article in the paper. I don't know if it's come out yet today or when it's going to come out, but we got some good pictures yesterday of the site. But we encourage all businesses in Monterey County, whether you think you had economic injury or not, to come to the center or apply online. We've been handing out press releases. We have fact sheets that have been distributed as well. And I'm welcome for any questions at this point. And I'll put that.
I was going to say, thank you very much for kind of walking through not only what's available, but kind of who's there, you know, what the services are, and that you made an interesting point about people who may not think that they were affected, but they might be. How would a business say, I wonder if I was affected by this slip out? how would they go ahead? How would they kind of process that to say, what could this mean to me?
Yeah, that's a good point. Since if you're not one of the 5 businesses that were economically said they had economic damage, any business in Monterey County or any of those contiguous counties that I mentioned, Fresno, King, San Benito, San Luis Obispo, and Santa Cruz, can apply online or come into the center, and SBA will make that determination if they suffered the economic damage. What we do is we do a historical record, go back 2 years on their tax returns, and we can determine if they've suffered economic damage since this started, which was March 30th, 2024. The disaster period hasn't even ended yet, so we still know businesses could be suffering. But the key thing is to apply and have loan officers can help you determine whether you've suffered economic injury. And some of these businesses may not even know yet, Maya, because it does take a while to find out that foot traffic hasn't been coming in. They're starting to run behind 30, 60 days on their notes payable. That would be a direct result of the economic injury of this disaster. So we encourage the folks to come in and apply.
You said you had 5 to 7 businesses in yesterday, and that may not seem like a lot, but Big Sur isn't, it has a lot of businesses. Some of them are small, some of them are medium sized. Is that a good first day for a community the size of Big
Yes,
Sur?
yes, it is. That it was fabulous. I was down there at 8 o'clock for the opening, and we had somebody waiting in line right away. And when I left about 12:30, there were two other people coming in. And like I said, we have 2 customer service reps down there that can help folks any time of the day between 8 and 5. But it's a fabulous first day, especially for this community that that suffered it, that suffered the damage, and it's just finding out that that help is available. We just declared this disaster late last week. So that's
And
good. And the state helped us open up this center there in Big Sur as well. They've been a real good partner. And like I said, one of the key things is to have an SBDC counselor there who can help the businesses right there on site. They go from our table right over to the other table.
so could you, I don't, you may not have been involved in the counseling sessions with these individual businesses, but is there a common thread in the questions that they have, the inquiries that they have? Because many people in Big Sur say, we've been through this before, gosh, we've had slip outs before, we're going to try to make it through. But, this was a pretty serious, event.
Right. And I drove by it yesterday, so I can understand that as well. One of the key things we hear when businesses do go over to the SBDC counselor is my business plan is going to change. Well, of course it is. You've just been through a disaster, so you're going to have to start thinking of different ways to start earning the money. One of the persons that did come in said that he had 3 or 4 SBA loans from past disaster declarations. So I can see what you're saying there, where people have been through these before. We had those winter storms in 2022. We had the fires in 2020, which I remember meeting you at that point, Maya. I knew I'd recognize you from somewhere. But there's been a lot of disasters that have hit the Central Coast. Monterey even had the president come out in 2022. That's how severe and extreme those storms were. So we understand what's going on. That's why we come out here with the low interest rates and the long terms to make recovery affordable.
So it's so great. And I'm sure that the folks in Big Sur are really appreciative, whether, just to have your presence there, whether they need, services or not. But let me just one more question about people who might be affected and don't know it. Is it possible for someone who is in Carmel or a business in Carmel or Monterey to be affected by that slip out? And if
By
so, kind of what might that look like?
By all means, and that's why we include contiguous counties in these kind of disaster declarations, Maya. People who live in Monterey County could be doing business with folks in Fresno County or San Benito County or Santa Cruz County, and their revenue is going to start drying up because they can't produce the services or the goods that could then transfer over to those contiguous counties. That's why we include those contiguous counties, and all the small businesses and all the nonprofits in those contiguous counties are also available or eligible to apply for small business administration loans, because vice versa, they and also cannot send goods over to Monterey County or to Big Sur as well. That's why contiguous counties play a major role in this, because the businesses all feed off of each other into these counties, the contiguous as well as the primary. The primary, of course, is Monterey County.
Are there any questions for Kevin about the center, what's going on? Because this is your chance. You're welcome to chat out your question or put it in chat. I'm seeing nothing in chat at this point. And the location, for those of you who have not seen the chat, the location is there. It's at the Big Sur multi-agency facility.
Right. And I've also put my email address, Maya. They can contact me directly. And I've also put the application, the online application they go to as well after we're gone, which is Thursday at 5 p.m.
Thank you. Kevin, thanks very much for taking the time to come in and talk about this with us on the briefing. I know you're here for only just a short time, but we're really glad that you could be here to talk about it.
One last thing, and I'll put this in the chat as well. We've also opened up a virtual business recovery center, which I will put that information in here as well. I'll have to go out to my press release to find it after I'm done talking, but I'll have that in there as well. Folks can actually call a specified number with SBA and speak to a customer service rep. They'll walk them through the application and also answer any questions that they do have, which is another great resource for people. So they don't have to do it on their own. They can give us a call as well.
Thank you. It's so helpful. And I'm sure that very appreciative after all they've been gone through down there. It's really great to have you on their side.
Yeah, it was nice being down there. I stopped at the post office. I went over to the Big Sur Deli as well and spoke with some folks. So very nice folks down there. Really enjoyed it down there yesterday.
Oh, the deli, you're making me hungry. It's lunchtime, right?
Yep.
Thanks, Kevin, very much. Appreciate it.
Okay, Maya.
On to our next topic. We're going to talk about the county budget, and we're looking forward to our budget hearings next week. Monterey, the County of Monterey will be holding its budget hearings, and that is a spending plan for the next fiscal year. It is a very complex process, but we are happy to have our Assistant CAO, Ezequiel Vega. He's going to walk us through the agenda for the hearing. He's going to talk about some of the budget challenges, why you see departments making presentations and some not, and what is the process for departments that may need extra funds. Ezequiel, thanks very much for joining us on the briefing today to talk about this.
Thank you. I'm sorry for being a little late. I was in the middle of the budget hearing review, so I really apologize my lateness, but
Nobody knew but me.
Not everyone knows. So I just made it right on time. So I wanted just to thank you for your time. And as what Maya said, the budget hearings are going to happen next week. May 29 and 30th if necessary. So we will start at 9 in the morning. And at 9 in the morning, there's going to be a presentation by the auditor controller. That will be the first item on the agenda. That item is going to, in essence, is required by law, and it's going to establish the maximum limit that the budget could be established at for the county for the general fund. So that presentation is going to take maybe about 5 minutes or so, and then it's going to move on to the next topic on the agenda. During the budget hearing agenda, we're going to be discussing what most of you already know about a potential ballot measure in the November election for a potential sales tax or TOT. That is not something that the board has determined yet, that's what they're going to do. We're going to be presenting some polling results. The last time we met with the Board of Supervisors, they directed us to do some polling with the electorate. We'll be presenting those results. So that's going to be right after 9 in the morning. Then there are going to be some comments by the chair of the board opening the public hearing for the budget. Then we will have some comments by the CAO who will give us a brief overview of the budget itself. And then I'll go into a presentation of the details that are included on the budget. The budget is about $2 billion for the entire county, about 880 million for the general fund. So that's what will be presented. There are going to be, in addition to my presentation, 4 more presentations by departments. Those departments that will be presenting are going to be the Sheriff's Department, Public Works, Social Services, and the Health Department. So the reason why those departments are presenting and not others is that we have gone through a process where departments have provided a baseline budget to our office. They have identified funding gaps for all the different departments. And as part of the recommended budget, we have been able to make recommendations of funding for most departments. So that means that those departments that are presenting, I still feel that there are important elements to the request that have not been funded. So that is why that is also going to be, those departments are going to be presenting and the remaining will not. So at the end of the presentation, from those 4 departments that I mentioned, then we will be opening that for public comment. So the public will be able to make comments on anything related to the budget. And also, I miss the public comment that also the public will be able to make on the item related to the potential ballot measure. That's going to be have its own public comment in the morning. So we anticipate that all of this that I have discussed is going to be completed by noon, including the public comment. And then in the afternoon, we're going to be going over comments by the Board of Supervisors, and we're going to be going through each section of the budget book to see if they have any specific questions in the budget book. And then at the end of the day, we are going to be working on the Water Resources Agency budget. The board will conclude the Board of Supervisors meeting and then open the public hearing for the Water Resources Agency budget. And then also we will do the same for the smaller districts that the Board of Supervisors also act as a board, like the Pajaro County Sanitation District, the Successor Agency, to the Redevelopment Agency, the Housing Successor Agency, Boronda County Sanitation District. So those are going to be the districts that also will be discussed during that day. So if everything goes according to plan, we will be done with the budget hearings by 5 p.m. on the 29th. If we're not done by that time with all the different feedback by the board and the specific direction on the recommended budget, public comment, then we will go into the next day on May 30th, and then we'll start again at 9 in the morning unless the board decides to start at a different time. But that's the plan right now, 9 in the morning on the 29th, again 9 in the morning on the 30th. Then assuming that all that process is complete, then we will be planning to adopt the budget with all the direction that the Board of Supervisors provided during those two budget hearings on June 20th. Once that direction is provided by the Board of Supervisors on June 20th, then the budget will be adopted, and we'll be implementing that budget as of July 1st going forward, so that the departments have the budgetary authority to start delivering the services that the board has directed through the spending plan. So I think I touched on all the topics that you had discussed, right, Maya? So
yes, and it's really helpful because I think there's a lot happening in that one day, and to be able to follow along would be very helpful. The other thing I'm hoping you'll talk about are some of the budget challenges. Putting together a budget of this magnitude is just challenging on its own. But in over years past, and this year included, there have been some challenges to try to balance that budget.
Oh yeah, definitely. So as any other municipal government, we have had challenges, and one of the biggest challenges is that costs continue to go up. You have seen the inflation that has impacted the entire nation and internationally other countries as well. So we have to deal with those inflationary costs. The costs continue going up, and revenue, even though revenue continues to go up, is just not sufficient to be able to continue to cover that increase in cost over time. So initially we had identified a significant budget gap of over $20 million going into next fiscal year. But we were able to work with departments on by making reductions in certain areas where it will not impact service delivery. We were also able to identify specific funding sources that were able to cover some of the requests that they made. So all of that will be discussed during the budget hearings themselves, but we were able to, in essence, balance the budget. But there are other challenges that we haven't yet dealt with. Some of those are still going on as part of the negotiations with the different labor groups. Those negotiations are in the middle of happening, and depending on the outcome of those negotiations, then we may have a budget gap at that point. When those negotiations are concluded, we're going to have to figure out to fund any potential financial concessions that the county made, and then make adjustments to the budget accordingly. So even after we go through this process, and right now the budget is signed and approved, we have that challenge. We still also have the challenge of any potential impacts from the state budget. As you all know, the state budget was just released in January, and then it was revised in May by the governor. And through that revision, we are familiar with a few impacts in the social services and health department arena that are going to be presented to the Board of Supervisors next week. I don't have a specific details as to what those impacts will be, but I just know that they will be significant. So we're going to have to be dealing with those as well. So I think all of that is going to just be part of the challenges that we have. In addition to that, obviously there are complexities on requests from the community, the development set aside, that organizations that are requesting additional funding in addition to what we are recommending in the budget. So all of that is going to play into the intricacies and the complexity of the budget. So it is every year a challenge going through all those complexities, but I think that as long as we continue to provide solid financial recommendations to the board, they'll be able to make decisions to be able to have a balanced budget. There's no option for us. We have to have a balanced budget. So we will have to solve all those issues as we identify them.
And I think that's one thing that is very important, is that the budget must be balanced. You can't go into July 1st with something that is that there aren't, all zeros at the bottom, right? Or the numbers don't match. For anyone who has questions for Ezequiel, you can go ahead and put them in chat, or you can raise your hand and ask them. But Ezequiel, I also want to ask you, a lot of work has gone ahead of this day to try to solve these problems before the hearings. But what people don't know is the long view, where your office also looks at 1, 2, and 3 years out to see what the county is facing. During this budget year, do you still also look ahead to those future years to see how additional challenges might be managed?
Oh, definitely. So we start early with the Board of Supervisors for planning. So I think that what I will do, I think I can share my screen, right? So I'm going to share my screen. And when you look at this screen, the process that May is describing is that we do a comprehensive process. We start looking this early in the process when we are developing the budget in November. So with that, we start developing a 3-year forecast where we ask departments to get into the weeds and start looking at how are they doing into the current year budget that was approved by the Board of Supervisors. Are we going to have any challenges? And then we start looking at what potential cost drivers are going to impact the budget going forward, what the potential revenue we could receive, and then present that type of outcome to the Board of Supervisors early in the next calendar year in January, February timeframe. And then once we do that, then we start also working with departments on developing a baseline budget. And you can see on this flow chart what that process looks like. So at every point, when I think what you described, Maya, is that we continue to reevaluate our assumptions. We can continue to reevaluate any potential issues that we may have missed at any step of the process. But these are the specific steps that we take all the way towards the implementation of the budget. And then it doesn't end when the Board of Supervisors adopts the budget. We also work on reviewing what we did the prior year, how the year ended, anything that could have been done better. Do we have any additional resources that were left over from the prior year, and then incorporate that into the overall planning. We also look at the long-term capital needs of the county. Do we have any challenges there where we may need to build a facility that's going to cost millions? How do we start financing that? So it is not only a focus on the ongoing operations of provision of services, but also the maintenance and construction of potential new facilities to be able to serve the public better in the years ahead.
Thank you very much for sharing this slide. This is really helpful for the public to know, what this process is. And if I could ask you one more question, and the lights just went off in the room where I am, which is pretty hilarious. I haven't moved enough. For people who want to comment on budget items, there are several opportunities for public comment, and I'm hoping you'll go through them again at the various times of what they can comment on.
Yeah, so the public will always make a comment directly to their specific board offices anytime during the year about anything that is important in their communities related to services and how they are funded. But obviously also we have very specific times where the public could make comments about the budget and where we are right now. So as of today, we had a budget workshop in April. The budget had an opportunity to comment there. We also had community meetings in different districts, and one also in the board chambers, so the public had the opportunity to comment on the budget itself and the importance of the priorities for them as in terms of funding for specific services. And in addition to that, during the budget hearings next week, the public will also have an opportunity to comment about anything that is in the recommended budget and what is important to them in their community. And also when we adopt the budget during the June adoption portion of the budget, the public will also have an opportunity to make comments there as well. So they could get just comments by providing direct input to the Board of Supervisors that represent them in their district, and also in a public setting during the budget hearings, budget adoption, and any other opportunity that was highlighted on that previous slide that I had shared with all of you.
Thanks very much for walking through that. And a reminder for people who want to participate, whether in person, they can participate in person in the board chambers. They can watch online. They can watch on Facebook. They can watch on YouTube. It's important to know that comments left on social media, if you want to comment on an item, you need to be in the board chambers or you need to be on the Zoom call to comment on a particular item for people who want to participate. Any questions, any additional questions for Ezequiel before we move on to our next topic? Seeing none, thank you so much for walking through the budget, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Thanks. And now we're going to talk about Memorial Day. Many of you know it's a holiday that's coming up on Monday, and many people look at this weekend as a holiday weekend, but there is a lot more to Memorial Day than just a holiday. And that's why we've got Jack Murphy from our Military and Veterans Affairs Office to talk about the real meaning of Memorial Day and also to talk about the services that his office provides. Hi, Jack.
Hi, man. Thanks for the opportunity. I want to start off by thanking Ezequiel for not reducing our budget, and in fact, he's going to quadruple it, and that's on the record, right? No, as you mentioned, May, a lot of folks, I think nationwide, we look at Memorial Day as the beginning of our summer journeys. We look at Memorial Day as a time for barbecuing, and you know, it's either a 3-day or 4-day weekend for most government employees. A lot of businesses take advantage of that kind of celebratory feel to, you know, have mattress sales and car sales and sales of all sorts of things. I got an email from Costco that they're having a Memorial Day sale. As a combat veteran, as someone who is here to advocate for, you know, all 23,000 of the county's veterans, one of my roles is to also educate folks, and not only in the veteran community, but also outside. And that Memorial Day is really meant from inception to be a day where we pay respects to service members that have fallen, where we honor them and we remember them. And that's what Memorial Day is about. I myself, don't get me wrong, I'm going to have a burger and a beer on Monday morning at some point. Not the beer, but a burger and a beer sometime during Monday, Memorial Day. But I will be doing it in remembrance of those that I served with who didn't have a chance to come back. And that's really what Memorial Day is about. There are a lot of things happening here in Monterey County, also in San Benito. And if I can share my screen here, I'll put up this slide. Can you see that okay?
Yes, we see it.
That's okay. That's my contact information in case anyone wants to get a hold of either me or my office. These are some of the events that are taking place starting with this Friday. The Presidio of Monterey and the Defense Language Institute are going to be holding their own observation of the holiday. That'll be taking place at the Central Coast Veterans Cemetery in Seaside. That's at 8 o'clock. You can't miss where it's going to be. It's going to be at the main flagpole right next to the committal shelter. And then on Monday, the 27th, which is actually the Memorial Day holiday, a number of things are taking place starting in Castroville. They're going to be doing first the Avenue of the Flag ceremony, which goes on for a couple of hours in downtown Castroville. And then at the Castroville Public Cemetery, which is actually in Moss Landing. It's right along Highway 1 there as it goes into Moss Landing. There's going to be a flag raising observation to remember the veterans that are buried or interred there. That's going to be from 10 to noon. Down in Monterey, at the Coast Guard Pier, the Monterey Navy Auxiliary Detachment, along with the Coast Guard Detachment that's assigned to Monterey, are going to be doing a wreath throwing into Monterey Bay. And that's going to be at the Monterey Coast Guard Pier, starting at 10:30. I've been to that event before. It's pretty solemn. It's short. There are a number of events taking place at the same time shortly thereafter, starting off with in Salinas. At the Vietnam Veteran Memorial, they're going to be holding a Vietnam Veteran Memorial observance. That's going to be at 11 o'clock. It's out there off of Laurel near Natividad. Here in Marina, there's going to be an observance held by or hosted by American Legion Post 694 with a lunch immediately afterwards. That's starting at 11 o'clock. American Legion Post 521 is going to be holding a joint observation along with the city of Carmel by the Sea. That's going to be at Davendorf Park in Carmel by the Sea at 11 o'clock. That's a really nice event in a kind of a small, intimate park setting. I've attended and spoken at that one in the past. There's going to be a luncheon thereafter at the American Legion Post 521, which is within walking distance. And then kind of the main event for Memorial Day in this area at the Central Coast Veterans Cemetery is a combination of the California Department of Veterans Affairs observance and also the Central Coast Veterans Cemetery Foundation. This is going to be at Seaside, and that'll be at 11 o'clock. We expect a number of our electeds to be showing up for that one. So that's what's happening here in the county during Memorial Day. There are a couple of events taking place in San Benito County. They're all based out of Hollister. The main one at 11 o'clock is going to be at the Veterans Memorial Building. They're going to be doing their own observance there. And they're also going to add a number of engraved bricks to their remembrance garden taking place there. And that, again, is at 11 o'clock in Hollister at the Veterans Memorial Building on San Benito Avenue. A little bit about what our office does. So aside from doing the educating, advocating, prosecuting, and pursuing of claims, I want to remind people in the community, especially our veterans who are considering filing a disability compensation claim or any kind of benefit claim, we are the only entity in Monterey County that is free and that is fully accredited with the VA. So we're more than happy to help. Since January, so basically the January through April timeframe, we've already served 1,431 veterans. We've filed just under 2,000 claim actions. We've had 963 specific VA disability compensation awards awarded to us. And that's so far in just 4 months has totaled over $1.8 million of lump sum payments and $823,560 of recurring monthly tax-free payments during that 4-month period. So we're really good at what we do. We're proud of it. We want to help as many veterans that are out there. We also want to help the dependents of veterans who are, graduating out of high school. We're about to enter the California college tuition fee waiver season. So far in this 4-month period, we've only done 30 fee waivers. But that has saved $203,000 in tuition for veterans in this county. To give you an idea, over the course of a year, we do about 275 California tuition fee waivers. That's valued at over $1.8 million. So we're just coming into the fee waiver season. If you're the parent or one of the dependents hoping to go to college, in California, that's any community college, any Cal State University, or any UC. Now's the time to start hitting up our office for those fee waivers. Couple of 2 slides real fast. This is a very wave-top look at the different types of benefits that are available. Healthcare is first and foremost. We're connected to Stanford through VA Palo Alto. Fantastic quality of care. I personally get my healthcare through VA Palo Alto. There's so many different benefits that are available depending on the needs of the veteran, the needs of the family, the needs of the survivor at times. So it runs the gambit of educational programs, vocational training, home loans, different types of pensions. We can put money in your pocket. It really depends on what your needs are. And this is at the federal level. Within the state, there are a number of benefits also. It's notable that on Memorial Day, any veteran can go into any state or national park free. So if you're thinking about taking Kevin up on his offer and heading down to Big Sur, you can stop at those parks for free. Just be sure to show your ID. There are other programs and benefits such as, discounted vanity plates, discounted hunting and fishing licenses, CalVet, the California Department of Veterans Affairs, has its own home loan program where they are the actual loaners of the money as opposed to the federal program, which is a guarantee. I do want to spend just a second on the recent VA PACT Act expansion. So as of October of 2023, the VA enacted what's called the PACT Act, which is a promise to address comprehensive toxins. It's really the burn pits and Agent Orange, radiation, a lot of other ugly things that service members might have been directly or indirectly exposed to during their service. Since the PACT Act was enacted in August of last year, the VA has enrolled 1 million new veterans. And that's 1 million veterans who previously didn't have health care, previously weren't eligible for benefits. So a lot of those things that I showed you on the other slides, they're now eligible for. Working with VA Palo Alto in Monterey County, they've identified 3,000 veterans who are eligible for the PACT Act healthcare benefits, but have not filed a claim or have not connected to the VA. So we're going to be doing a joint event with VA Palo Alto and also the clinic here in Marina sometime in August. The exact date hasn't been identified yet, but we want to get as many of those 3,000 veterans that are out there in Monterey County connected to the VA. The recent expansion as of March includes veterans now who have not connected to the VA because they don't have a service-connected disability, or they have not proven a toxic exposure. So there's 3 broad categories that veterans can fit into. One, they are either a Vietnam or Gulf era veteran. They served during a specific period of time on or after August 2nd of 1990. So this is really Desert Storm, Desert Shield. Or they served anytime, anywhere after September 11th, 2001. And they had service during the, in support of the global war on terror, which is any operation in Iraq, in Syria, in Afghanistan, large parts of the Middle East, also the Philippines. And then the last category is a veteran who believes he or she was exposed to some type of toxic hazard or environmental exposure during their term of service, whether it was in the U.S. or outside the U.S. So this is about as broad and inclusive as I've seen any VA benefit during my time, both helping veterans and also in the service. So I want to get the word out that that's out there. I do also, I have to mention that if you're a veteran, and especially during Memorial Day, if you are struggling with remembering someone, or in your journey of honoring someone, you can always contact the VA's crisis line to talk to somebody. That number is 988, and then you press the 1, so 988-1, and that's a great way to get immediate support. That's also available for family members and friends. And then lastly, if someone wants to get a hold of our office, we have locations in Marina, Salinas, and Hollister. We do in-person appointments, remote appointments, walk-ins, phone, Zoom. Our number is right there, 831-647-7613, or you can always shoot us a note at mvao.org. And thank you.
Jack, thank you so much for walking us through all of this. It always amazes me where you're bringing in new veterans for services where you think that veterans would automatically find you, but they don't always automatically find you. And I wonder if you could talk a little bit about what barriers there might be, or what is keeping veterans from reaching out for assistance.
Well, that's a great question, Maya. There's a lot of different reasons. I spoke to a gentleman this morning. He thinks that if he files for a benefit, that he'll be taking it from a more deserving veteran. And he's an older gentleman who's got onset of Parkinson's. And I'm like, who's more deserving than that right now? But that's not the way the VA works. Every single person has his or her own set of benefits. You're not saving the government any money by not filing, by not connecting. There is a sense of of guilt and not wanting to take another veteran's benefits because that other veteran might be missing a leg or some an arm or something like that. That veteran has his or her own benefits. There's no shame. This is the Veterans Administration wants to help every single person. There's no quota. There's no minimum amount or maximum amount of service. They want to help you. I really want to emphasize, let us be that conduit for you. Increasingly, there are agents and agencies that are charging veterans thousands and thousands of dollars to do what our office does for free. And we're also VA accredited. So if you're considering a claim, I encourage you, please contact us. You don't have to use our office. If you want to use a nonprofit such as the American Legion, that's fine. Let us educate you, but let us try to get you everything that you're entitled to. There's no reason to be too humble or proud. These are events, especially during this time of year, Memorial Day. If you don't do it for yourself, do it for another veteran. Do it for someone who didn't have that opportunity because they might have not come home. So honor someone else. That's my message.
And Jack, it's very moving to hear the story of that veteran who contacted you, because they have given and they have earned whatever support they would need, at this time or any other time. They've done their job.
Exactly. And we veterans can be hard-headed, but we also love each other, and we're here to support each other and help each other. So if anyone could use some love and some help and some support, please contact me in my office. Thank you.
Jack, thanks very much for talking not only about the real meaning of Memorial Day, but about all the benefits. And we really hope this encourages people to reach out and at least ask the question to find out if what you can do for them is what they're looking for. I really appreciate you joining today.
Of course, and thank you for the opportunity.
And then finally, we're very pleased to have colleagues from Door to Hope. The health department and Door to Hope is going to be out at the Cali Roots Festival this weekend, which is another big thing happening on the weekend. But their emphasis is going to be on health and safety, specifically Narcan distribution and fentanyl test strips. So we're really pleased to have Aimee Reenters, and I think I've just said your name completely wrong, here to talk about what you'll be doing at the Roots Festival this weekend.
Hello, everyone. First of all, thank you for having me join today, especially kind of last minute. So I really appreciate it. Basically, so for those who aren't familiar with what Door to Hope is, we are a comprehensive behavioral health program. We also work very closely with the youth opioid response for the state of California. So one of the reasons that we are going to be going to Cali Roots is because of that relationship with the youth opioid response. Essentially, what we have some funding to do is go out in the community and offer harm reduction resources in addition to recovery resources as well. So for the upcoming Cali Roots Festival, it's kind of a well-known thing that people may be partaking in substances. And one of the biggest issues right now is that there are a lot of counterfeit substances going around. So there's a very increased likelihood for people to experience an accidental overdose if it could be someone who may not do substances on a regular basis, and someone handed them something and they were like, why not today? They actually are in really great risk, especially right now, and with the way that fentanyl is going kind of into a little bit of everything. So one of the reasons that we'll be there is both to educate, in addition to providing the life-saving opportunities provided by Narcan. And then the fentanyl test strips would be essentially to try and mitigate those risks for people that may or may not choose to engage in substances. We're not encouraging substance use. We are working in trying to really just take a harm reduction perspective, because we can't necessarily stop everyone. We can just educate them and we can keep them as safe as possible, and then let them know, like, if they do actually have those struggles, they're more than welcome to reach out to us for additional support. The partnership with Monterey County is thank you to Sheba. She and I have been in communication over the last few months, and thankfully she had an abundance of supplies that I was able to request. So thank you again for making our weekend possible with providing the Narcan and test strips. And then lastly, we have part of the reason I needed her support was that this is kind of it takes a while to get large quantities from the state. And we also have another event coming up on June 8th. I'm not sure if you guys are going to do another media briefing, but if that's the case, I'd love another opportunity to talk about the upcoming Recovery Run community celebration. It's a free event being that we are doing at the oh my goodness, Rabobank Stadium in Salinas. But I can talk more about that later, or if someone has any questions. But either way, so for this weekend, we will be out there. We're actually going to be parked next to the cannabis team from the county. So we'll be kind of working as a team for the event to cover all of the shifts because it is a very long day. And yeah, thank you guys so much for listening.
Well, and thank you for bringing this to our attention and for talking about this. So I think when people think of Cali Roots, they don't think about this. So, but you do. And so that's what it's important to know you're there for people who are there and they see you there. What if they came to you, kind of how do they bring themselves to you? Kind of, I'm sure it's like a no judgment zone, but also you've got a lot of information there for people, even if they're not interested in a substance.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the biggest things in the community at large is that people may or may not realize like that we all are impacted, whether we are aware or not. So even people that may not be partaking themselves, just having that resource available because maybe their friend didn't tell them that that's what they were going to do at the festival, and then they suddenly collapse and they're having this overdose, you know, educating people and just trying to make it so that we are promoting safety in general. That's really the biggest goal. And as far as like coming to us, we will be stationed in a like nonprofit alley, I think is what they called it. So people are aware that there are going to be some nonprofit resources available to them at the festival. Cali Roots itself is actually promoting our presence. We made a couple of graphics that connect the health department to Door to Hope for the Cali Roots promotions that they're sending out. And so far we've gotten a lot of really positive response from party goers or festival goers and people that have just said a lot of thank yous, because fentanyl is a real issue and it's not something that may be at the forefront of everyone's minds, but if it continues at the rate that it's going, it'll continue to be that. So really trying to get to people before it gets to that dangerous level is the ultimate priority at this point.
It also puts the word out that there's Narcan at the festival and available. And I think no matter where you are in the spectrum of this issue, just knowing that should something arise, there's a place to get Narcan is really a life-saving knowledge.
Absolutely. And again, I mean, the fentanyl test strips as well are, you know, kind of in hopes of preventing the need for the Narcan, you know, so maybe somebody, again, like I was saying, maybe it's somebody who's never done anything in their whole life. They are, you know, 20 years old and their friend is like, here, I have this thing for you. And they're like, okay, this is my one day to try it. You know, they are at an extreme risk for an overdose, like, and people just don't know. It's a very, very small amount of fentanyl that can be literally in anything at all. And it's just granules that can actually kill people.
Thank you so much for just jumping on here at the last minute, talking about that. You'll be, again, reminding people you're going to be kind of in the nonprofit alley out at Cali Roots. And is it 2 days, 3 days? I'm sorry, I forget.
It's the 24th, 25th, and 26th. We have it scheduled right now that we'll actually be there 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. So during most of the day, we'll at least have 2 to 3 people, and that's another way that Monterey County was being so generous with their resources with us, because we obviously have a very limited staffing opportunities, and we will be like paying our staff to be there. So thanks again to Sheba for your support and helping connect us with the cannabis team, because they too will be helping. We'll just be collaborating. It's just a really great partnership, and I'm very glad that we were able to put this together.
And thanks very much for joining us to talk about this. We really appreciate it. And we'll look forward to talking with you about the recovery run too, which is a fantastic event.
Awesome. Yes, thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.
And thanks everyone for joining us on the news briefing this week. Our next briefing is next week. We'll see you then.
Thank you.